A very good morning to you all. You're watching World News coming to you live from Warsaw, Poland, and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. French President Emmanuel Macron is visiting Poland on Thursday. Macron is set to hold meetings with his Polish counterpart Andrzej Duda and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk. Also scheduled for Thursday is a meeting of the Warmai Triangle finance ministers in Warsaw. Macron will be welcomed to Poland by Prime Minister Donald Tusk. The French president and Polish Prime Minister will reportedly discuss the war in Ukraine. Macron is expected to relay the details of the conversation he had with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Zelenskyy that took place after the Notre Dame Cathedral reopening ceremony and Mass over the weekend. Paris emphasizes cooperation with Warsaw because of its prominent role in the region and its presidency of the Council of the European Union. More on the importance of bilateral cooperation in this report.
French President Emmanuel Macron is facing plenty of challenges on the domestic front following the collapse of the government in Paris. But he's also got plenty on his plate when it comes to foreign affairs. The freshest item on his agenda is a visit to Warsaw, where he and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk are expected to discuss Macron's talks with Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Donald Trump, held on the sidelines of the Notre Dame reopening ceremony. The main topic is said to be EU security in the face of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as Poland is set to take over the presidency of the Council of the European Union in January 2025.
We had a good time together, and we had a lot of success, really great success working together on defense and offense too, and it certainly seems like the world is going a little crazy right now, and we'll be talking about that.
The upcoming visit to Poland will be President Emmanuel Macron's second. He was a vocal opponent of Poland's previous government.
We know that President Macron and the government of Morawiecki had some political tensions when it comes to rule of law, especially. We know that their meetings, their discussions were not as productive as someone could hope for. But politics is not the only thing that is the explanation for the rapprochement between France and Poland.
With a few exceptions, French-Polish relations prior to Macron's presidency weren't exactly perfect either, says Romain Lequenot of the think tank Eurocreative.
During the presidencies of Jacques Chirac, during the presidency of Nicolas Sarkozy, as well to some extent of François Hollande, there was a clear lack of interest. There was a clear lack of understanding as well of Central Eastern Europe in Paris. And one of the most important and symbolic illustration was that France for a long time has ignored the alert from Central Eastern Europe, from Poland, when it comes to the threatening behavior of Russia.
Now, however, it seems Paris has learned its lesson, placing the utmost importance on Poland ahead of its takeover of the presidency of the Council of the European Union.
The Polish foreign minister is traveling to Berlin on Thursday to attend a meeting of the heads of diplomacy of the European Union's Big Five. Radosław Sikorski will meet with his German, French, Italian and Spanish counterparts in Berlin. British Foreign Secretary David Lammy and EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy Kaja Kallas will also attend the meeting. The officials are expected to hold talks on pressing issues for European security. A previous meeting between the heads of diplomacy of these countries and the EU took place in Warsaw in mid-November. The EU Justice and Home Affairs Council meets today in Brussels, with ministers from all member states expected to discuss Schengen and asylum issues. For more, we now go live to our European Affairs correspondent, Sasha Farbach. Good morning, Sasha. So tell us, what can we expect from this gathering of ministers in Brussels today?
Hello, good morning indeed. So this is a two-day meeting, Home Affairs and Justice, that's on the agenda. And I think the main thing, as various ministers arrived here in Brussels just behind me, was the many iterations of Schengen. Schengen is the big topic here today. That's one of the items of the agenda. The Romanians in particular are going to be happy because now this means the inclusion and full inclusion of Romania and Bulgaria into the Schengen zone, so that borderless free travel. Now, up until May, there was this partial Schengen that was only allowed for flights between between the EU and actually Romania, but this is now falling away. Austria was holding that up as a veto, citing migration concerns, and that is now dropped, and this means that from January 1st of 2025, this is full inclusion for Romania and Bulgaria. Now, this also means, I just want to point out, this also means that now there's going to be more pressure on those countries to secure that external border of the European Union. That's going to be something also Frontex will be involved in. Now, we heard what the Interior Minister of Romania said when he arrived. Let's hear that now.
Romania is fully prepared to enter the Schengen area. Romania will be a strong partner for Schengen. We will strengthen the Schengen area. Our border protections are among the first in Europe, and we are ready to continue as a loyal and solid partner of Schengen area. We worked very hard to be here in this moment, and we will continue to work with the Commission and with the Member States to consolidate our position.
So there we have it. The Romanians are prepared for what is required of them. So positive words there indeed. And also one thing I want to mention, a big topic here will be asylum and migration. Now that asylum migration pact, that's something new that's passed here finally in the various institutions. That's only been effective since a few months. And its full implementation is set for 2026. That's going to be discussed. That's important. Also connected with Schengen, as the Minister, Interior Minister Ms. Faeser of Germany also arrived. When we asked her about Schengen, she said right now those internal checks will remain, but that will be on the discussion. So it will still be a very long day, but a positive one for Schengen, Romania and Bulgaria. Claudia, back to you.
Thank you so much. That was Sasha Farbach coming to us from Brussels. President Emmanuel Macron is expected to name a new French prime minister within the next 24 hours. It comes after major party leaders met with Macron in Paris on Tuesday. The president has vowed to maintain stability in France following the resignation of Prime Minister Michel Barnier last week in the wake of his government's no-confidence vote. The talks did not involve the far-right National Rally and hard-left France Unbowed, which had submitted the no-confidence vote. France has been hit by political turmoil since snap elections in the summer returned a hung parliament. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy on Wednesday night called for a united European stance on ending the war in Ukraine. During his nightly address, Zelenskyy said Europe's leaders must avoid efforts that showed a fractured position.
I have just spoken with the Prime Minister of Spain about our joint efforts in Europe to achieve unity that can bring us closer to peace. I'm grateful to Spain for its support, especially in strengthening our air defence. We will continue our work this week and next to make European positions stronger and help restore security to Ukraine and all of Europe. Coordination and joint efforts always yield results. This is what Europe needs right now, not isolated efforts contrary to everyone else on the continent. Achieving reliable peace is a challenging task, and we must be able to bear this weight.
Austria will terminate its contract with the Russian state-owned energy company Gazprom. The move to cut Vienna's dependence on Moscow was announced by the country's chancellor, Karl Nehammer.
In a statement published on X, Nehammer said that Russia wanted to use energy as a weapon against Austria. As Gazprom did not obey the terms of the agreement, OMV, the country's biggest oil, gas and petrochemical company, voided the contract, which was supposed to expire in 2040. Nehammer also added that Austria's energy supply is secure and that the country would not allow itself to be blackmailed by Russia. The decision to sever the contract was also confirmed on OMV's official website.
Russia's so-called shadow fleet of oil tankers will be targeted by the EU. Ambassadors of member states agreed on Wednesday on a 15th package of sanctions, which will target, among others, 45 third country ships transporting oil for Moscow.
The fleet has been a key financial lifeline for Russia's war effort, dodging sanctions on Russian energy exports. The new sanctions package must now be approved by EU foreign ministers on Monday. Apart from sanctioning the shadow fleet, the latest package also targets Chinese firms producing drones.
Georgia's pro-European demonstrators took to the streets for a 14th consecutive night on Wednesday as international pressure mounts on the Georgian government. Recently, the French President Emmanuel Macron urged authorities in Tbilisi to release protesters he claimed were arrested arbitrarily. A telephone call with the ruling Georgian Dream Party's honorary chairman and billionaire Bidzina Ivanishvili. Protesters in the streets of the Georgian capital allege that it's Ivanishvili who, despite holding no official post, is pulling the strings of power. Mass protests gripped the Black Sea country after the government announced its intention to pause EU accession talks back in November. In response, police have used tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowds, but have so far failed to dissuade the public. Arrests are also common, with more than 400 people already detained by the Georgian riot police. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has invited Chinese President Xi Jinping to his inauguration ceremony, CBS News reports. The invitation was extended early last month, but it is not clear if it has been accepted. Xi Jinping's attendance in Washington would be unprecedented for a leader of China, the United States' major geopolitical rival. It marks a departure from Trump's position on China when it comes to nominating his secretaries. Among the so-called China hawks named to key posts is Senator Marco Rubio, who will lead the Department of State. Moreover, Trump has announced a series of regulations directly impacting U.S.-Chinese relations. Among them is an additional 10% tariff on all imports from China. It is still a lower percentage than what was announced during the presidential campaign, when Donald Trump threatened tariffs of more than 60%. Director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, announced his decision to step down from his post on Wednesday. The resignation will be effective in January, before Donald Trump assumes office. During a town hall address, Wray said that until he will focus on the day-to-day operations of the agency. Wray still has 3 years left in a 10-year term.
After weeks of careful thought, I've decided the right thing for the Bureau is for me to serve until the end of the current administration in January and then step down. My goal is to keep the focus on our mission, on the indispensable work each of you is doing every single day. And in my view, this is the best way to avoid dragging the Bureau deeper into the fray while reinforcing the values and principles that are so important in how we do our work.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken departed for Jordan and Turkey late on Wednesday. During his stay, he is expected to hold talks on Syria and the Gaza Strip.
Blinken is aiming to ensure a smooth transition of power in Syria following the overthrow of the regime of Bashar al-Assad. Blinken is expected to reiterate the United States' support for an inclusive, Syrian-led transition to an accountable and representative government. The U.S. Secretary of State is also reportedly interested in helping advance talks on a ceasefire deal in Gaza.
The leader of South Korea's ruling party has said that President Yoon Suk-yeol should be suspended immediately. During a brief press conference, he said that if President Yoon has no intention of stepping down early, he should be suspended from his duties.
The president should be immediately excluded from state administration, including the military leadership. As long as it has been confirmed that the president has no intention of stepping down early, an immediate suspension of his duties is required. At the next vote, our party members should attend the meeting and participate in the vote according to their conviction and conscience.
Spain, Portugal and Morocco, these three countries have been chosen to host the 2030 World Cup. During the announcement ceremony, FIFA also unveiled the host country of the 2034 Cup, Saudi Arabia. The first three matches of the 2030 World Cup will be played in Uruguay, Argentina and Paraguay to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the World Cup. Uruguay was the first World Cup host in the history of the tournament in 1930. The next 100 matches will be played in Europe and Africa. Organizing the tournament on three continents is already sparking controversies over the event's impact on climate. Moreover, the lone host country of the 2034 Cup, Saudi Arabia, is also under fire for its long history of human rights violations. And so this would be all for now, but please do stay tuned here on TVP World, as we'll be back with more news and features.